This is a short one like me. Dudes with Brews on the Porch presents Michael Brews.
Craft Brews and Casual Conversations. Joined with me is Josh, owner, creator of Rad Girlfriend Records. Thanks for hopping on the program so much. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Before we jump into all things punk rock and music and everything and kind of what's going on in the world, we're beer drinkers a little bit, and you're part of the punk scene. Beer seems to be pretty prevalent in the punk rock world. I always, whenever I go to shows, it's always PBR and everything like that. I'm kind of grown away from the PBR, and I'm more of an IPA guy. But you said you're drinking something kind of close to my heart, from the heart of Wisconsin. You're drinking some Miller.
Yeah, just some Miller, easy beer to drink. I don't drink that much at home.
Okay.
I'm a bartender actually, so this is kind of a topic that we can definitely touch on.
Do you see, as a bartender, is it more of a craft beer scene these days, or do you still kind of sling the Coors Light, Bud Light, stuff like that?
Well, you get a lot of both, and you get a lot of interesting beers. See, my biggest problem, I mean, I wouldn't call it a problem, but what draws me away from the craft beers is that there's so many of them, and there's too many different things, and like, yeah. I'm a very simple, I'm like, I like liquor, right? So
sure,
I drink, it doesn't matter what kind of beer it is. I drink like 2 or 3 of them, and then that's it. Like my body's just like, nah, no more beer. Like, you can move on to your regular, whiskey or whatever.
Sure.
So it doesn't really matter to me. I PBR or Miller Lite or Steel Reserve, like whatever, because I'm only going to drink 2 of them anyways.
Gotcha. So you're from Ohio, right?
Yeah, I live in Dayton, Ohio. Okay. I'm from Buffalo originally.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so I'm drinking something that's kind of close to Wisconsin. I believe you've probably been to Wisconsin a few times. Yeah. Well, from Sheboygan. It's called Southern Tropics. It's made with hops from Africa, so it's really exotic.
Yeah, sounds like it. A friend of mine gave me some beers yesterday that we drank actually, that were like these crazy sour beers. I think the company was called like 450 North or West or
okay.
Something like that. But like, yeah, man, like they were like, it was like syrup. It was like these sour beers that were like so thick. It was like a smoothie or something. And I enjoy sour beers quite a bit actually. But like, I'm like, dude, this is like, this is like dinner.
It's thick. Yeah, they can be really thick and pulpy, and kind of depending on your mood, you might not.
I play in this band called the Dopamines.
I'm familiar.
And we had a beer, Against the Grain made a beer for us.
Oh, that's awesome.
Named after us.
Awesome.
When our last record came out. So that was cool because I was actually at work, but the other guys got to go down to the brewery and watch them make and brew the beer and stuff like that. So
I actually I got to see the Dopamines play one of the last shows at the Frequency in Madison, Wisconsin.
I was there.
Yeah, the Gusto opened, I believe. Or that could have been the Lillingtons.
It was that band. It was called. It was the Gusto might have. Yeah, they might have played, and then like the dudes from the Jetty Boys. It was called Nacho Montana.
Yeah, they were actually really good. And then there was I get confused because I went to a Lillington show like right after that one, so I get confused with who opened. But yeah, Nacho Montana, they were good. I enjoyed them.
We had their like demo CD stuck in the van for a long time, and it was like the song was like, "Don't you know I got a big dick? Don't you know I got a big dick with no balls?"
I remember them. That one.
That's pretty funny.
That was a really good show. The thing that sucked for me was I was on third shift, and I think I was up for I was going on hour 25, and I was like just in the back. I'm like, I really am enjoying what's going on, but I'm just so tired.
Yeah, we got into a big fight that night actually.
Oh really?
Band.
That's too bad. You guys were good. Shit happens. But anyways, let's talk about why you're here. So we're trying to, in the world of saving our stages right now, and promoting independent music, even local businesses and everything like that. Obviously, everybody's impacted by this this COVID shit. Rad Girlfriend Records is a part of that independent scene that is very near and dear to my heart. It's a punk rock guy who promotes punk rock bands that really, it deserves more attention because you're really putting a lot of good shit out there, and you're helping a lot of bands, get their music out there and stuff like that. So talk a little bit about the history of the label and really what it takes, because some people, they might not realize a lot of these record labels are a 1-2 person operation, and you're really putting in the hours and putting in the work, whereas someone might not be aware of that, and your livelihood is it's a part of this.
Well, we started in 2011, I think, and I was just I think it started because I was playing in some bands that, like, I remember at the time looking around for, like, I was always booking shows in my house, I was always having shows, we were always putting on shows, and then, like, we started our own band, and then, we put out a couple records, and I started, like, realizing that I'm, like, reading the reviews in Maximum Rock and Roll, I'm reading, Razor Cakes, I'm reading, like, all these magazines, I'm like, well, how do I couldn't get any label to, like, fuck with my band,
Mm-hmm.
And I think at the time it, like, kind of, like, was, like, damaging a little bit to my self-esteem, because I was like, is, like, you don't know, is, like, does this suck? Like, is that why no one wants to, like, or, like, are you just not part of the fucking, clique, or
Right.
like what is it? And I think, like, so when I met, she was my girlfriend at the time, but when I met Brandy, it was like we were going through this as a band, and I think I was just like, I'm going to put out my own records, like, fuck everybody else. And I had no idea what I was doing. And I still don't. I have, like, a method that I kind of go through now, but you learn things every day. And so, I just put it out I started putting out records as a means to put out my own music. And then when I realized that, like what I remember that some of my friends who were doing it, like, they had distros, and, like, places that I would get records from. And so the idea at first was, like, I was like, all right, well, I want to put out, like, enough records to like, be able to trade with somebody, so I don't just have, like, one record out and then be like, oh, like, have to wait for more records to come out to trade with people, because I wanted to build a distro also. So I think we put out, like, 5 records, like, really quickly. A bunch of them, 3 or 4 out of those 5, like, being my own bands. And that's how it started, man. And then I started realizing that, like, it's kind of sucks to say, but it's like, once you start putting out records, like, people want you to put out their record. And
Right.
I have no, like, illusions about, some of the shows that I've gotten, and some of the things that I've gotten to do are just basically, like, return favors, for me putting out someone's record. And I guess that's just the way it goes. But eventually we started putting out enough records, that were good.
Yeah.
Like, and we started to build people's trust up a little bit. And I think, it was just something fun. My wife has always been supportive, and she helps with the label. And she was always just like, look, this is what, you want to do it. So do it. And that was all it took, man. I started figuring it out. I had some help. I got ripped off by some other labels. You learn these things along the way. And it's been a process, but it's just, there was also a point where I realized, like, okay, I had this ambition for my bands, right? Like, I had this goal that I want to achieve. And when you're in a band, as everybody who's in a punk band knows, a lot of times nobody cares. Nobody gives a shit. Like, you get really lucky sometimes, and you, sell a lot of records, or you make a really good record. And for most bands, like, you live and die in obscurity. And I just realized that like no matter what happened with my bands, I wanted to be a part of music in some way, and I wanted to be able to, if it wasn't going to be my band, then I wanted to help somebody else's band, and I wanted to just be a part of it no matter what. And we've gotten lucky with a couple records that did really well, and I think overall now, after 9 years into it, we've built a little niche,
Mm-hmm.
to where we kind of have we have the trust of some people, and we have a few, avenues where we're able to get our music out to people. And it's, we don't make any money, but maybe if I had a different business plan, or a business plan at all, maybe we could have, but I didn't, if I knew what I knew now back then, maybe it would have been different, or maybe I could, who knows?
I couldn't even imagine trying to put something like that together, and I give you a lot of credit for doing it. And I mean, for people that listen to the punk music, you have some pretty like kind of iconic bands part of your label. The Queers. I think Mass Intruder was on it for a little bit. Like you said, the Dopamines. You did Tales of Interest on that, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yep.
Which is an amazing record, by the way. I love it very
Thanks.
much. I got the pink one.
That was one. So that was one of the. There are none of those left. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, awesome. And I mean, even like you have Kyle Kinane with the Slow Death, which I really appreciate. You did that little split. I think it was probably like a 7-inch, where one side it's Kyle Kinane, and then the Slow Death has their track on the other side.
Yeah, dude. A lot of these things just like fall into your lap. And that's the thing, is like, so I mean, I can pick a couple of those, like I can pick out specifically. Actually, you just mentioned the Frequency. I remember specifically being at the Frequency with Red from Mass Intruder, and this was like, so I had seen them before anyone knew who they were in Chicago. Yeah. And we became friends, and I remember that we had played with the Gusto. So this was 2012, early 2012, and we had played with the Gusto at the Frequency with this band Tight Bros. And I remember talking to him, and he was like, yeah, like, don't tell anybody yet, but like, we're going to put out a record with Red Scare. And he was talking about like the first record, and they had just put out maybe like the very first EP on Hang Up Records, I think. And he was like, we're like looking to do this split with the Turkletons, and like, that's just how that happened, and we just did it. And that was right at the beginning of their, career, and right at the beginning of ours. And that was the first record that we did. That was like, I think that was RGF like 10 or something. It was like the 10th record we did.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was great for us, because, we were a new label and nobody knew who we were. And that certainly helped, because they blew up right after that. The Queers, like, here's the thing about the Queers, man, is, there is a lot of friction when it comes to people, and their opinions about the Queers. I also played in that band from 2013 for like 4 or 5 years. I mean, usually I was never on a record, but I toured with, like, my first tour was like with them was like a month long with like Teenage Bottle Rocket and the Copyrights,
That's amazing.
And so like that was it was a total like, mind fuck, really, because like one day I was at home, and literally the next day I was like on tour with the Queers. And so like, aside from all of the stuff with Joe, right, that people want to talk about,
right,
like, working with the Queers has, there were a few years recently, like 3 or 4 years ago, where running the label was getting tough, because we weren't selling enough records to put out the amount of records that I'm putting out, and, Joe gave me the green light to reissue all of the Queers back catalog on CD. So like, here's something that like a lot of people don't know about the label, is like, that kept us afloat for a long time. I didn't even have to do a thing, because my distributor, right, bought all these CDs. Like, we pressed, 1,000 love songs for the Retarded, right?
Yeah.
And I think I like changed the color of the title, and that was like how I set it apart from the, you know, the Asian Man pressings and the Lookout pressings and stuff. But like, I didn't sell any of those in our web store, or I didn't even have to advertise it, but the distributor bought all of them. And so like, while the checks that I was getting, and Joe just wanted copies for tour. Right. So I would just send him as many as he wanted. And all that I was getting was just a few $100, man. But when you're not selling any records and all of a sudden you have a bill to pay, that's a few $100, you know, it was like that kept us afloat for a long time. We did Don't Back Down. We did love songs. We did the re-recorded version of Punk Rock Confidential. We did A Day Late and A Dollar Short, and we did Pleasant Screams, you know. And that was very, very fortunate on our behalf that those records were something that sold and were able to, you know, keep us afloat for a little while, you know. And like I said, I mean, there's always been controversy, you know, about Joe, and I don't think that's necessarily worth getting into on the label side of things, you know, like personally, if you want to talk about that, we can, you know, or whoever, but you know, he helped out our label quite a bit a few years back.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's like, and like you said, you know, it's kind of like, you know, a dude in a punk band helping another guy in a punk band put out this punk label. And unfortunately, punk isn't, you know, it's popular in some regards. And I mean, to me, it's popular. To a couple of my friends, you know, like I can talk to you about all these bands I listen to, but then I can turn to my another friend and say, oh yeah, I'm going to go. Even like when I say like the Menzingers, people are like, who the fuck is that? And I'm like, what do you mean? You know, or it's just kind of weird, but it's such a cool, tight knit community. And you know, it's always been kind of give a helping hand when you can. At least in my experience, you're kind of more engulfed in it than I am. I'm just, you know, a consumer of it. I go to the shows and I buy the stuff. But even, you know, I got into punk probably when I was like 15 or 16. I like to credit it to Tony Hawk Pro Skater originally when I was in like 5th grade playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater, because it's all these Suicide Machine, Goldfinger songs, and I really enjoyed them. But I really got into it when I was probably about 15 or 16 from my friend, also named Josh. And eventually, you know, we were going to these shows and I'm falling down and people are picking me up, or if I'm like short on some cash for something, somebody's like always been willing to just throw something at me. And it's always been like such a great community. And you don't even know these people sometimes. It's just been, it's great. I love it.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Nobody. I've got my own pizza.
I want this pizza.
Come here. You want to say hi? Come on, you want to show him your cool shirt? Come here. This is my kid.
Oh, awesome. Oh, hey, buddy.
Show him your discharge shirt.
Look at that.
Yeah, say hi.
Hi.
How you doing, bud?
Doing okay?
Good.
You like punk rock?
Yeah.
You like
That's
Daddy's
good.
bands?
Yes.
What's my label called?
Got Rad Girlfriend.
That's right.
All right.
Awesome.
Get out here.
No.
I'll be up in a little bit.
You know, it's funny because
I think he actually just came up and farted on me.
it's funny because I have 2 kids as well. My daughter's 11 and my son's 6. We have you know, an outdoor kind of gazebo area, but right, like it was like 15 minutes before this, and I was like you got to get the kid out of here, like
yeah,
because he loves to talk and loves to be a part of it, especially
during the COVID stuff. Like I've, you know, had to do some stuff like over the computer, you know.
Yeah. And
every time, you know, he's just like crawling on me. But you know, hey man, that's my life. That's
for sure.
That's okay, you know.
How's that? So, what's it like to be touring and being a parent and stuff like that? Is I mean, I would imagine there's some difficulties attached with that, and it's hard to leave home, but you're also, you know, doing what you do.
But parenting is like, you know, being on tour all the time. You know, the thing is like Brandy has always supported me in that aspect. And I was lucky to have a job that, you know, I was able to book shows there, and they never, ever, not a single time ever gave me a hard time about, leaving for tour. But, it's really not conducive to having a family. It's hard. It's harder,
right.
Especially if you're in a band that's not making any money.
Yeah.
And so that's where the problems come in. So it was like touring with, the Queers was a lot easier than touring with, the Raging Nathans, 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It just was. And there was a year that I was gone for like 6 months, out of the year, or 7 months out of the year. And like, it really does take a toll. And, I still never let up. So I have, Isabella's 14 and Desmond is 4. And when he was born, I mean, like, I remember like 2 weeks after he was born, we went out and played some shows, like just a weekend with like Iron Reagan and in like Baltimore and Richmond. And I was like, I gotta play these shows, and then I remember kind of just being like in this hotel room at one night being like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I got a 2-week-old baby, at home. And there's definitely a lot of stuff that I've missed out on. And as he's gotten older, it's actually gotten harder because, he's like fucking nuts, man, know? And so like, I'm leaving home. She's got to work more to pay the bills.
Right.
If I may be making some money, but I'm not making as much as I would be at work, and then once he started to get like past like a toddler, like when he was like 3, then it started to get really hard because he's just so crazy,
Right.
And like he needs, somebody to watch him and, but I will say that she's always supported me and never gave me, I mean, she's given me a hard time about touring, but
sure.
She never told me no.
Right.
But now this last 7 months, so I haven't played a show since March 1st or something. We did the last tour I did with this band, my band Loose Behavior. And the last 7 months I got laid off from my job.
Yeah.
And Brandy's been working and I've been home with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I've spent every day for the last 7 months with them. And I feel like really fortunate because like I'm making up for some lost time, like all the time that, and she used to say too, she'd be like, well, you should go like when he's little, like he's not going to remember it. So like, now's the time. If you're going to do all this touring, like do it now. But really, like, I regret it now because all that time that like when he was little is what I think about, like I miss him being little and I missed all that stuff. I mean, he still is really little, but right. As a baby, like, I convinced myself that it was okay because he wouldn't remember it, Now when I walk out of the house, the kid's like, no, Daddy, where are you going?
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going to happen, but yeah, we'll see though. I mean, I think I've toured for so long for no money that now it's just like, I don't even care really. Like it's part of me and I can't stop doing it. But like at this point, unless someone, I really feel like I don't really want to tour for touring's sake anymore.
Right.
Like, I'm not just going to go on tour for 2 weeks because I put out like a 7-inch. You know what
right.
I mean? It's like just either wait around for a good offer or like a good band to tour with or fucking I don't know, man. I'm as I get older and I'm having like, conflicting feelings about touring in general.
Yeah, and that's again, like a lot of times people don't look at touring like that. They picture this the rock and roll lifestyle, you're living large and shit like that, but there's really, there's definitely sacrifices that come with it, and you do it for the love of the craft. I mean, like you said, it's just you love playing punk music and you love punk bands, but at what expense? That's I have no relation. I can't relate, but
there are great rewards. It's immensely satisfying. Mm-hmm. Sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And then other times it's like, it's deeply frustrating, especially I have to just keep reiterating this as like a, a DIY band,
Right.
because it's like you can make a lot of money, if you were fucking Bad Religion or something,
Right.
or like,
Right.
the Lawrence Arms probably make a lot of money when they play, or the Menzingers, or like whatever. Like those are like the kind of, tier level bands that are, could, and they don't even tour like, 8-9 months out of the year anymore,
Right.
So yeah, it's weird, but you know what, man, I really had to just be like, I had to kind of find my little place in this world of punk rock, dig out a little hole in it, and just learn to live there,
Right.
and worry less about what could happen and worry more about what does happen,
Right.
and dealing with the things that I get to do and being satisfied. And it's, I'm an ambitious person,
Mm-hmm.
in a good way. Like, and I think like I'm not trying to, step on anybody to get ahead. I just want to, I want things to happen, but I don't think that I should get so beat up, when, if it doesn't.
Yeah, I have that problem too. I mean, I'm in school right now, going for a master's degree. Sometimes I wonder why, but it's like I beat myself up quite a bit. Even like on like a paper that I get a B on, I get pissed off, and it's just like sometimes I'm too hard on myself, and sometimes I just need to step back and be like, well, these are the things that I have accomplished, and this is what I am doing, and I'm
yeah, that's important, man. My whole family are academics, right? And so like there was like a lot of pressure on me to go to school. I mean, I went to college, and I got a degree, but I've been a bartender for 12 years, for the last 12 years. I graduated, I think, in like 2009. It took me fucking like 7 years or something to graduate college,
That's all right.
and I did it, but like I don't use it. I think, and that's things like I have this very different view now. I feel like I'm fortunate. My dad worked at a university, so I went there for free.
Oh, it's awesome.
I don't have any debt.
Right.
I'm thinking like, could I imagine going for a master's degree? Like, even now, if I wanted to go for a master's degree, and do what? Take out a fucking student loan? Like, no way.
Yeah.
My wife will never pay off her student loans. You know what I mean? Like and so now I have this hard time. Like, I want my kids to go to school, but like, how do I tell them? How do I justify? Like, yeah, take out a $50,000 loan that you'll never pay back.
Right.
I can't do that.
Yeah, my fiance in a similar thing. She works for a university, so I'm gonna be going for free, which is kind of what kicked me into just pursuing it. But yeah, it's insane, and I mean, as you're also a musician, but this independent business that you have, that you're operating as well too, and that's just that costs money too, and everything like that. I can imagine, and just in the state of the world with everything that's going on. I mean, I miss shows and everything, but really, I just want to promote as much independent music, as much independent like artists as possible, because I mean, going to see the Dopamines or going to see the Raging Nathans or these bands are like, that's my getaway. That's a lot of people's getaways. And if we don't support, independent labels like Rad Girlfriend, even, like Red Scare or something like that, like we're not going to have these bands. We're not going to be able to go out and go to these sweet venues like the Frequency. They're majestic and at least in my neck of the woods. But so I really want to bring attention to it. So I'm really happy that you hopped on to talk about it. And
well, I appreciate it, man. I mean, like, I'm just a fan of music myself. Like that's all. And sometimes you forget. Like, I remember I went to go see the Dwarves like last year or something, and I wasn't playing. I just went to the show, and I went in there and I'm like singing along, and I realized, like, God, like, I forgot how nice it is to just go and enjoy yourself
Right.
at a show. You know, there's no, like, you don't have to worry about fucking impressing anybody or trying to kiss anyone's ass. Like, there's a whole other thing that comes along with like playing in bands that like I don't really like, you know.
Yeah.
Which is probably why some of my bands have stayed at the same level for a long time. Like, I kind of refused to like play this game, but like, yeah, I just remember being like, yeah, this is great, and I just enjoyed myself thoroughly watching a band that I like, and you know what I mean. And so it's to have somebody be like, hey, your label, you know, puts out great records, or hey, your band put out a song that like really means a lot to me, or like whatever. It's something that I never ever take lightly, and that's why like anytime anyone wants to talk about this, I mean, we've never met. I am more than happy to talk to anyone about anything that has to do with this, because it's very, very important to me.
Yeah, me too. And it's like I said, I have my best friend, his name's Josh, and he's kind of the guy that in a way steered me towards like really getting into punk rock. I think one day I get in his car and he was listening to an Anti-Flag record, and I was just like, you know, like, what is this? And he's just like, oh, this is, you know, he's like, this is punk rock, kid, and he like turns it up, you know, like, and I was just like, this is great. And it's really, and that's kind of like what brought me and him closer, as, you know, we're like brothers now, over the last, you know, 20 years or whatever. But it's that's kind of our thing. Like, not a lot of my other friends can share that experience, and I wish we could, because there's so much better music than what's on the radio. And I come from a radio background. I used to work full time in radio, but fuck, do I hate a lot of that music. And I'm not dismissing it, but there's just so much better stuff. Yeah, and more talent out there that I'm just like, dude, if you like, you know, I do like the Foo Fighters and stuff like that. I can turn them on and listen to it, but it's like there's just other bands that are local, that are you know, a part of the community, that are so much better than this. And I mean, and your label like really works with a lot of them, has worked with a lot of them, and it's amazing. I mean, going back with the Dopamines, I love that record. I love the Dopamines. I've been a big fan of them, and I've only seen you guys the one time, and I loved every second of it. But
thanks. Yeah, I mean, you know, that's been a crazy ride. So I've been a member of that band for 7 years. It was just 7 years in September.
Nice.
That's a long time, man. And then they were around, you know, they put out 3 or whatever albums before that I was even in the band, or 4 albums before I was in the band. And the frequency is not around anymore, right?
No, they closed, unfortunately. I don't really know what happened. This is all pre.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I seem to remember hearing that they closed down. But no, dude, I mean, like, every day I feel lucky. That's why I can't. It's hard to like just, you know, you get frustrated putting out records sometimes, because like, dude, first of all, like 7 inches don't really sell that well, and you know, LPs are expensive, but like every once in a while you get these like crazy opportunities that you just like are like, what, like, that I feel very lucky to get. You know, we just did this Frankie Stubbs 7-inch, you know, and that was just an opportunity that just came and happened, and it was amazing, man. You know, you get these rare opportunities sometimes that, and they bring you closer to people. You know, I feel like a lot of the records, I'm so involved with every aspect of putting it out, that like, you know, I become, you know, pretty close with whoever I'm working with.
Yeah.
I haven't had any bad experience. I've had like 1 or 2 bad experiences, like of bands that I would just like tell to fuck you.
Yeah.
But like, that's it. You know, out of 125 records, I've had 2 that you know, that's pretty good, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's just been, it's good. And as long as I can still help people put out records, and as long as they're willing to let me do it, you know, I think I'm in it for the long haul, man.
Yeah. And I appreciate it, because I want to support, like I said, as many independent records and bands as I possibly can. I don't want to take up too much of your time, and gotta hang with your family and everything like that. But how can people get a hold of Rad Girlfriends, see what they got to offer, listen to some of the bands, buy some of the stuff? How do they do that?
You can go to www.radgirlfriendrecords.com, and that'll take you to our web store where you can buy vinyl and t-shirts, and the distro hasn't been updated in a long time, but there's still some other distro records on there. You could go to our Bandcamp page, which you can actually listen to everything that we've ever put out, or almost every, except for like 1 or 2 records.
Yeah.
You can listen to everything that we've put out for free. And, you can purchase the records there too, most of them. We've got all that, the Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and,
yeah.
you can email me at radgirlfriendrecords@gmail.com. I'm a pretty accessible person. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, not that really anybody wants to talk to me, but like, if you do, I'm not hard to find.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And definitely go to the Bandcamp, and then if you like something and you have the ability to purchase, I would definitely recommend buying. I'm a vinyl guy, so I would say
I did this thing, man, where it lets you on Bandcamp like choose your entire discography.
Yeah,
it will let you discount it, like
really?
if someone wants to purchase all. So you can actually get like 120 releases or something for like $100. Like, it's like $1. And so I don't know. It's like some people will buy a LP, which costs like whatever. Let's say you buy 2 LPs and you're spending like $30 or $40 or whatever. Right. Dude, like, you could literally get a couple days worth of music, for $100 or whatever. It's like, I think that's a good deal too. I mean, I'm not trying to get anybody to buy $100 worth of shit, but you can.
Oh yeah. I mean, and you're supporting, like you said, you're just supporting these people. They're supporting the people putting the work behind it. It's not on fucking Spotify, which, granted, I'm guilty of using, but
me too, dude. Me, what are you gonna do? Right.
It's part of the world, unfortunately, right now. But yeah, definitely buy everything on Rad Girlfriend. Just buy it, and then listen to it all, and then hopefully this time next year we're able to get to shows again and see some of these bands and just really,
that would be nice,
enjoy life. Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed. Hopefully, I got a wedding in January, so we'll see how that goes. But
good luck.
Yeah, thanks, man. But thanks so much for doing this and for being on it. It's really been an honor, and I greatly appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. Really appreciate it, Drew.
Pew pew audio. Goodbye, everyone.